Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Wednesday, May the 29th. We got a 9-game main slate tonight. I'm just going to be covering the main slate in today's video. There is an early, but I think it's like a 3 or 4 game early. But I'm not going to be covering that. We're just going to look at the 9-game night slate. We'll talk about DraftKings and Yahoo. We'll look through some pitchers that I like. Start off at the top of the pitcher-player pool. We'll work our way down. I'll be sure to cover all the options that I feel like I'm going to be playing today and that I'm going to have in my pool. Then we'll look at some hitters I like, 3 hitters, and then we'll talk about some stacks and BVP plays at the end of the video. Just before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video, and if you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so that way you won't miss out on any of my new uploads. So let's go ahead and start off at pitcher today. At the top, Blake Snell is our most expensive option on DraftKings. He is $11,300. He's also the most expensive pitcher on Yahoo. He is $53. I think Snell by far is the best option today. At home here against the Blue Jays, I really like him on both sides. He is definitely going to be a top priority for me today. I'm going to be trying to pay up for him as much as I can. There are some cheap pitchers that I like that make it pretty easy to fit Snell in when you go to those cheap pitchers. So Snell been one of the most consistent options all year and is one of those pitchers out there that gives you 30, 35, 40-point upside every time he steps on the mound. He can go out there and get double-digit Ks pretty much every start. We've seen him do it multiple times this year. 13 Ks against Colorado, 11 against the White Sox, 12 against the Yankees. Now he gets a Blue Jays team that does strike out quite a bit versus left-handed pitching. They have a very low total today, a 3 implied run total, which is the lowest on the slate. Snell's just in such a good spot here. He's pitching at home in Tampa Bay, which also is a very pitcher-friendly park. That's another thing that's going for Snell. For what it's worth, he did pitch against the Blue Jays earlier this year and went 6 innings, allowed just 1 hit, just 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 30 DraftKings points the last time he faced the Blue Jays. So I love Snell today. He's by far the top option. Your next best option is Madison Bumgarner against the Marlins. And I do really like that matchup for Bumgarner. I think Bumgarner is definitely in play, and he's going to have somebody, or he's going to be someone that I leave in my pool. On Yahoo, though, it's a bit different. Like, I think Bumgarner at 46, Buehler at 48, those guys are just so closely priced to Snell that I would just rather try and find the extra few dollars to get up to Snell. Where Buehler's like $1,500 cheaper, where Bumgarner's $1,400 cheaper. Bumgarner is a guy you could look to, but I still think Snell is the best option to pay up for. Buehler, the next guy, $9,600 on DK. $1,700 less than Snell. He gets a matchup at home against the Mets. The Mets are a team that have been struggling lately. Definitely have a lot of strikeouts in their lineup. They're going to be rolling out a lot of righties. They're going to be rolling out 7 righties in their projected lineup. Just 2 lefties in Conforto in the pitcher. So Walker Buehler is definitely in a great spot. Between him and Bumgarner, I think I would rather play Buehler. But between Buehler, Bumgarner, and Snell, I would definitely rather play Snell. But in lineups where I don't go to Snell, or maybe in lineups where I can find a really cheap stack that I like, then maybe I'll play Snell and Buehler together. But Buehler's going to be a second for me behind Snell. Other than him, though, I'm probably not going to like Syndergaard or Hendricks or Nola. I don't think these guys just have their upside in their matchups. Like Syndergaard against the Dodgers is a no for me. Hendricks against the Astros is a no for me. Aaron Nola against the Cardinals is probably not somewhere I really want to go. I think your best besides paying up for those guys like Snell, Bumgarner, Buehler, your next best options are to look just cheap down here, 7K and below. There's 2 guys I really like. John Means at $6,900, I think makes sense as a value pitcher at home against the Tigers. And then Pablo Lopez at $6,600 at home against the Giants, I also think is a very good value play. Lopez I really like at $6,600. He's very cheap on Yahoo as well. He is $33. I think John Means is pretty cheap. Or John Means is all the way up to $42, so I would definitely prefer Lopez on Yahoo. Where Means and Lopez are similarly priced on DraftKings, I still think Lopez is the better play, but I will have a little bit of Means on DK. But Lopez is a guy that I really like at home here in a great pitcher's park in Marlins Park, pitching against a very bad Giants lineup with a very low total against them, just a 3.9 implied run total for the Giants. Plenty of strikeouts in this lineup as well. Lopez is definitely like not a great pitcher, but he's not a gas can either. He can go out there and have some success. Like against the Mets, 7 innings, 7 Ks, just 2 walks, 1 hit. Against the Braves, 6 innings, 3 hits, 6 Ks. He does have plenty of blow-up potential. He got blown up by the Nationals when he faced the Mets on May 10th. He got absolutely rocked. But Lopez does give you some upside. And in this matchup with the Giants, I just don't see how he gets blown up. I don't think the Giants lineup could really blow up anybody. So I really like Lopez as a cheap option. You play him and Snell together, and you're still left with over 4K remaining per player. So I expect this is the pitching combo that I'm going to be going to the most today. That's probably all that I'm looking to for pitcher today, though. I'm probably going to just be focused in on like 5 or 6 guys: Snell, Bumgarner, Buehler, and then for cheap, I really like Means and Lopez. I might throw in like a little bit of Ronaldo Lopez at 5,900 as another cheap option. But like Snell, Buehler, Lopez, those are probably my 3 core pitchers that I'm just going to be having the most exposure to. And then I'll mix in some of the other guys I talked about. But let's go ahead and look to some bats now. So we'll start off at first base. I really like the Diamondbacks today. I think they're in a great spot here versus Jeff Hoffman. Hoffman has really struggled this year, and at Coors, he hasn't been that good this year. I think he's made 2 starts this year for the Rockies. Both have been at home, or 3 starts actually against, or 2 starts, 2 starts at home against the Nationals, against the Orioles. In his start against the Nationals, he went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs, 11 DraftKings points. Then against the Orioles, he went 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, gave up 2 homers, just 2 DraftKings points in that game. Hoffman has really struggled this year. This Diamondbacks team has a 6.1 implied run total right now, which is the highest on the slate. I really like some of these D-backs hitters, and I really like Christian Walker. His price tag stands out a lot on both sides. Very cheap on DraftKings. On DraftKings, he's at $4,300, and he's also very cheap on Yahoo. He is just $10, one of the cheaper first basemen available. I think Christian Walker is a top play here. This is a guy that does have a ton of power, pretty much on both sides of the plate. Does have more power versus lefties, but still, I really like Christian Walker here. A great power hitter in Coors Field. Things just set up really well for him. Hoffman will give up some home runs. I think this Diamondback stack makes a lot of sense. They're very expensive, but there's some good cheap pitching I like today that make it somewhat easy to get to some of these guys. Like if you stack like Marte, Escobar, Dyson, and then you go to some of these bottom of the lineup guys that are really cheap, you could still fit in probably Blake Snell with Lopez, just because how cheap Lopez is and what he allows you to do. So I love the Diamondbacks. They're definitely my top stack today. They're a team that I'm going to be loading up on a ton. I do like Ketel Marte a lot today. It's hard to fit him in on DraftKings at 5,500 because of like how the pricing sets up. But on Yahoo, it's a bit easier to fit him in at $24. We'll talk about some cheap options I like on Yahoo as well that make it easy to fit in some of those expensive D-backs hitters. Marte was a guy that I played quite a bit on Tuesday night. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to be going right back to him today on Wednesday versus Hoffman. Marte has shown a ton of power this year, especially as of late. Been showing a lot of power in Coors Field, a great hitter's park. Things just set up really well for Ketel Marte to go along with some of these other D-backs hitters. So I love the Diamondbacks. They're one of my favorite stacks. Another team I really like is the Orioles. They have a 5.1 implied run total versus Ryan Carpenter. Ryan Carpenter is definitely a pitcher that I do want to pick on. And some of these Orioles hitters, specifically on DraftKings, are dirt cheap. Like Alberto leading off at 4,200. I love today as a somewhat cheap second base, third base option. This guy has shown some power this year, especially versus lefties. He does have 3 home runs on the year. He also, I think he has some pretty good speed as well if he gets on base. He had 3 stolen bases this year, so he can steal bases as well. The guy just has a lot of power. He should be leading off versus the lefty. Ryan Carpenter is a lefty that has struggled a lot to righties this year, and he's just not the best pitcher in general. High total for the Orioles, which is something we usually don't see. Usually the Orioles never get high implied run totals because their lineup is so bad, but the fact that they're getting over 5 implied run total today makes me have a lot of interest in them. So really like Alberto leading off. I also really like Keenan Broxton on DraftKings. Broxton is very cheap. He's only $3,900, I believe. Yeah, $3,900. He's been hitting the ball very well ever since he joined the Orioles. This is another guy that has some sneaky power and also has a ton of speed as well. Can steal bases if he gets on base. During that Coors series, I think he did homer. Yeah, he homered on the first game of that Coors series. Just has a lot of speed, a lot of upside. If he hits the ball into the gap, he can turn a double into a triple with how fast he is. It's obviously a great hitter's park here in Camden Yards as well. So love going to these Orioles bats as a cheap stack. I think they make a lot of sense to pair with some Diamondbacks hitters. Going over to Yahoo, I think Alberto is a great play over here as well at second base. He's only $14, makes a lot of sense for me. Jonathan VR also is the same price tag. I feel like a lot of people are just probably going to play VR over Alberto. So Alberto should come in a little bit lower owned than VR, and I think he makes for a great play on both sides. These Orioles bats are also very cheap on Yahoo. Like, I think Trey Mancini, $16. Keenan Broxton's like $8 or $9. Orioles make a great stack on Yahoo as well. But I think that's it for my hitters for today. Let's go ahead and talk about some stacks now. So obviously you have the Diamondbacks and the Orioles, two teams I really like today. Even though Robbie Ray's a good pitcher, I'm still going to be stacking up some Rockies bats against him in Coors Field. Specifically the righties, Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, Brendan Rodgers I think is a fine play. If Mark Reynolds cracks the lineup, Mark Reynolds could be a guy you look to. Ian Desmond's been pretty good this year versus the lefties. So I do like these Rockies bats even though they're facing a pretty good pitcher. And Robbie Ray, I think the Rockies make a lot of sense. I'm going to be interested to see what the Braves total is here versus Anibal Sanchez, because I think the Braves are going to make a lot of sense. 91 degrees here in Atlanta in SunTrust Field, Very good hitting weather for the Braves bats. I think they make a lot of sense versus Anibal Sanchez. Definitely a team you can look to. Don't want to overlook the Astros either. Kyle Hendricks is a guy that usually doesn't get blown up, but he's not a guy that's going to go out there and get strikeouts. A lot of his success comes from painting the corner, just getting soft contact. He's going to throw the ball in the zone and allow some of these guys to hit the ball, like Bregman, Brantley, really cheap, 4,700, 4,300. Reddick leading off is 3,600. Astros are a very cheap stack that you could look to today if you're trying to find some cheap bats. 5 implied run total for them versus Hendricks, but the teams I'm really going to be focused on are that Coors game and then some Orioles versus Ryan Carpenter. Would have some interest in some Phillies versus Genesis Cabrera, but I believe this game is going to get postponed. It's got a ton of rain expected, 60% precipitation, expect to have heavy rain. Don't know if this game's going to be able to play, but if it is, 5.8 implied run total for the Phillies. Don't want to overlook them here either. But I think that's it for stacks, guys. Let's go ahead and talk about some BVP now before we end the video. So starting off with Starlin Castro, he's gone 14 for 33 off of Bumgarner. Anthony Rendon 5 for 15 with the home run off of Kevin Gausman. Chris Bryant 5 for 11 off Wade Miley. Whit Merrifield 8 for 24 with the home run off of Ronaldo Lopez. And then some of these Rockies righties have hit Robbie Ray well. Trevor Story 5 for 20 with 2 home runs. Ian Desmond 5 for 13 with a home run, and Nolan Arenado 13 for 34 with 3 home runs. So those are all the BVP plays that I got for today, guys. I think that is it for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed the video, just make sure you click that like button down below and make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Like always, if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, or you can hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_go. Feel free to message me on Twitter if you have any questions. But I think that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you checking out the video. Hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck tonight. Peace.